Morning, guys, and welcome to your market report. Now, I'm going to talk at the end of this report a little bit about robots, and I'm also going to talk about German bank stock just toward the end. Anyway, stay tuned. I'm really glad to have you guys here. Today is Monday, June 18th, 2018, and let's open the charts up right. Okay, right here. Okay, we got the chart open. Yeah, it's running. Okay, silver price. Let's take a look at the silver price today. $16.48. Now, you know we had that big smackdown on Friday. I'm going to tell you what. This market right here, it wants to. I'm not saying it will. I'm not sure it will, but it wants to rebound. I just know it. You can just feel it that this market wants to rebound back up to around 17 bucks. It doesn't like the knockdown, and it wants to rebound. Now, let's take a look at cryptocurrency. Right? Now, here is Bitstamp, and we're looking at Bitcoin. And now, what do we see with this chart? Well, we see exactly the opposite. We see something. We see a commodity here that is struggling to not go below 6,000 bucks. This is what we see here. It's just the opposite from the silver market this morning. This market is struggling not to go below $6,000. And the reason why is because this is trying to make bottoms. If we go back, let me see, this is probably give it to us. Yeah, this 12 hours here. And we take a look at this, what we see is it made a bottom right here. Okay, at about just under $6,000, it made a bottom. And right now, it's in the bottom making process again of making another bottom. After it makes its bottom, it's probably going to rise back up to like 8,000 bucks or something after it's done making its bottom. This particular bottom right here. So it's making a bottom right now. But the thing about it is, it made a bottom here. It's making a bottom here. It's probably going to make one more bottom yet. And that bottom might even be lower than what it's doing right now. But none of this is guaranteed. The third bottom is not guaranteed. I mean, you're looking at something that could take off in the interim. It could. If conditions get right for this to take off, this will take off. But right now it's in this bottom making process. And so we watch it. And this is the time actually to do a little bit of accumulation and try to hit these bottoms to do what price averaging if you're accumulating. So if you're an HODLer, these bottoms are good times to do a little bit of accumulation, and you look at it as a buying opportunity. Because you don't want to buy when this thing is going all the way up this hill up to $19,666. That's not the time to buy it. So it's like if you bought this thing at $17,000, right now you're out of pocket. The time to buy it is when it's at its lowest. Always buy low, sell high. Anyway, let's go on and let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Let me flip this chart a little bit. It's down 247 points on market open today, but that's a no-brainer. What it's doing is it's basically, I mean, this market is so predictable for the last few months. It's been unreal. It's just basically followed this, where I got this line I'm putting right here, right about there someplace, probably 24,000 some odd dollars is this median line, because half of the spikes above it and half of them are below it. It's just about right on that line. It's been kind of following that line, a line right along in here someplace. And ever since they had that price correction back in January 26th, the market peaked at 26,616. We had a huge slide down, all the way down to 23,860, and the market has basically been going along bottom bouncing ever since. And this is where it's going to continue until the middle of next month, or maybe toward the end of next month. then we're going to see volatility enter the market again. And the reason why is starting at the first of this next month, which is another couple more weeks away, we're going to see bond yields start to rise again. The reason why is all got to do with the Federal Reserve. They're going to up their quantitative tightening program by $10 billion, and that's going to start the bonds moving up again, and the bond yields starting to move up again. And what that's going to do is it's going to have an effect on the stock market by about the middle of the month, next month. And volatility is going to enter the stock market again, that we haven't seen going back to January. And this is going to be interesting when this happens. Watch for it. Now, cryptocurrency market capitalizations. We're looking at Bitcoin dominance. What is the dominance today? 40.1%. That's a lot. That's high. Market capitalizations is 275 billion. All the coins are in the red, except for Tether, but Tether is not much in the green. Most of the coins are not significantly in the red. IOTA is fairly significantly in the red at almost 7%, making IOTA probably a good value for accumulation. You got to take a look at these coins. The further they are in the red, the steeper the decline in price, the more of a value they are to buy. So 2.71% decline on EOS. That's not too bad. Litecoin is seeing a 2.76 decline. That's terrific at only $94 per Litecoin. Ethereum is under 500 bucks, so that makes Ethereum a pretty good value. These coins are pretty good values right now for accumulation. Let's take a look at the oil price today. Oil is $65.22. And it's starting, I think oil is starting to basically, I think we've seen most of the price decreases now at this point. I think oil is going to start leveling off, and basically start going sideways for a little while. But I think now, looking out 2 years into the future, or 3 years into the future, the oil price is going to be significantly higher than it is now. Massively higher than it is now. And the price at the pump is going to be really be bad. So you don't want to buy these gas guzzlers right now. Don't buy a gas guzzler, because I'm going to tell you why. You're going to be looking to sell it. Nobody's going to even want to buy it. And it's going to, every time it passes a gas pump, it's going to cost you a fortune. Buy that little, if you're going to buy a car and you're thinking about buying a new car right now, buy that little one that's easy on gas. Buy the little one that's easy on gas, and then you'll have something that is easier to sell too if you ever have to sell it or anything, you know. Because I'm going to tell you, that's the car to buy, because you're gonna kiss the thing, because it's going to really be easy on gas. So now bonds and rates today. What we're looking at right here is these are all the yields are all down on these bonds, and they shouldn't be. The only yield that's up a little bit, and it's only very, very marginally up, is the U.S. 3-month. But the 10-year, look at that, 2.91%. That's about as low as it can go right now before the Fed starts to increase the quantity of their quantitative tightening. That's about as low as it can go right there, 2.91%. That it's only one place to go when they increase at the end of the month. But it'll probably stay around there until the end of the month. Now let's take a look at the U.S. dollar index. 94.85. And it's kind of done the exact same thing as the bonds, the dollar right now. It's kind of spent its energy, and it's kind of drifting along now. 94.85, neither going up nor down, but I think that down is the direction that it's feeling, like it wants to move in. Take a look at German bank stock right here, and again, this direction it's wanting to move in today is downwards. Let me refresh the page. 943. This is the direction that German bank stock is feeling like it wants to move in today. It's downwards, and I think it's getting ready to go down and make a new low again. After a while, these guys that are coming back in, they're buying German Deutsche Bank stock, they're going to actually start to get really discouraged pretty soon. Buyers are going to get very discouraged. And then I think the big slide's coming. I can't tell you exactly when the big slide's coming, but this thing right here has the potential to take down the whole world's financial system, take down everything. Now, I was looking at Alex Jones this morning, and he's got a lot of fear pouring on there about some new disease, bird flu disease or whatever. He's scared to death. I think the man really is scared of it, to tell you the truth, and he should be. That's a very scary disease, the bird flu. It's a type of a flu that could try to become a pandemic. But what makes it really scary is it kills almost 40% of the people who catch it. Well, I'm going to tell you about that flu a little bit, just for a second. I'm not going to talk about it very long because I got more I want to talk about. And on videos I want to show you about robots and how dangerous they are. But let's talk about the flu just for a second. I don't think that particular version of the flu, if it did become airborne, really seriously airborne, and it started to really transmit from person to person instead of from chicken to person. See, I've done some research into this flu myself. The fault of that flu, why it would not become, I don't believe it would become a worldwide pandemic, and the reason why it wouldn't is because of its death rate. It's got a very high death rate, probably 4 times as high as the Spanish influenza. Now, if our species was a bunch of dumb apes that didn't know how to quarantine, and didn't know how to alert one another, and didn't know how to use news media to alert ahead, then we would be sitting ducks for that flu, and it could go through and kill 40% of our population, which would be billions of people, and render the other ones so that they couldn't support themselves, so then more would die. And we could have billions and billions of people die if we were completely stupid. But we're not a stupid species. We alert one another, and we do it through the media. And a flu if it did break forth and start to kill 40% of the population, there would be an alert go out worldwide, and it would become very quickly a total, total crisis situation, where we would respond to that crisis situation by cutting entire areas off. I mean, we would quite literally, all flights would be stopped. Not, if something like that really started to spread and we actually see millions of dead people, and that's what I said, millions of dead people in whole areas that were actually, commerce was stopped and everything, everything would come to a grinding stop, 40% of the people dead. What would actually happen then is the other countries would respond by actually quarantine, a massive quarantine effort that would shut down everything. It would shut down all flights. It would shut down all traffic between countries where roads would be shut down. Whole cities would be shut down. And it would be a very bad situation, but they would contain it because it has such a high mortality rate. That's why they would contain it. In the end, they would contain it, and the whole countries might actually basically be written off. But they would contain it because it has such a high mortality rate. Whereas if it had about a 10% mortality rate or 9% mortality rate, they wouldn't be able to contain it. It wouldn't have enough of an alarm or a shock effect. And it would spread worldwide in that case, and it would shut everything down, and we would have the pandemic that Alex Jones is talking about. But because it's got a 40% mortality rate, it would cause such an alert, such a panic to quarantine that we would actually it would actually burn itself out by quarantines. But I'm going to tell you, Alex Jones has got a point. He's got a real point here. If this thing were to get loose, it could be seriously bad, devastatingly bad, because to get us to the point where we would take that action of quarantining whole countries off and shutting down all commerce and all airports and everything else to try to stop this thing, at that point we would be in some sort of a crisis situation like we've never seen before. I don't know. Let's just hope and pray that they get that bird flu under control. That could be a nasty little thing, out there. Worse than Ebola, because it's flus, and flus are actually more spready than Ebolas. Ebolas tend to burn themselves out. They tend to kill all of their hosts ahead of themselves, so that they just kind of burn itself out. And that's what's happened with the Ebolas. And not only that, Ebolas tend not to be quite so much airborne. More of you have to get into the fluid sort of a thing to catch it. Where this thing's airborne, I mean, this thing is really nasty. What Alex Jones is talking about there. So yeah, he's got a point. It's pretty bad. The more I think about it, the more bad it gets. But I still think that it would burn itself out because it has a 40% mortality rate, which is very, very extremely high. And anyway, I've ended up talking about it longer than I wanted to talk about it. Now, what we're going to look at now is the robots. Now, this is crazy too. This is really dangerous and crazy too. And this is very real too. I'm going to stop this video for a second. I'm going to show you what these blinking robots can do. Okay? Let's end the tape right here. Now, here's a clip. Robots can do. Let's start the chart again. Now, here's the thing. What could go wrong? U.S. Army to deploy autonomous killer robots on the battlefield by 2028. Well, what I'm saying is, you saw these things. They can go anywhere. And they got a titanium shell. Okay? Now, you saw that thing walking up the stairs. You imagine it creeping up your back porch, and it's got autonomous laser locking bullets, guns built into it. I mean, it's going to instantaneously detect movement on its onboard computer, and it's going to fire one bullet, ping, and it's going to fire it with a laser right through your heart. So you go out to the back porch to see what's going on. You see this thing coming walking up. That's the last thing you see. Next thing, you're dropped down. You're done, and you're just a casualty of this thing. And this thing then is going to begin shooting other humans. It's going to walk through people's yards, and they're not going to be able to stop it. How you can't even get close to it. It's going to be able to target you so fast. It's going to be like something out of a Terminator movie. And they're going to put these on the battlefield? What if they get off the battlefield? What if they all fritz at the same time because they're all connected to the same they're probably going to all be connected to this central computer unit. And what if it does, like, remember the movie 2001 where we had Hal? And Hal went crazy and wanted to kill everybody? Well, what if they connect like 2,000 of these battle units to one central computer, and it decides, hey, you know what? Let's move off the battlefield today, and let's move through people's backyards and through the countryside, and just come up and sneak attack on everyone, cities and everything. Let's just take out all of humanity today. And this is what their central computer decides. And then pow, you got these things going through. And look how fast they can run. Did you see that cheetah one? That thing can jump over obstacles and everything, run like 40 miles an hour. And it's got automatic targeting. And it's got these lasers. And if it uses small bullets, I mean, it might have 20,000 bullets on board. And it only needs one bullet through everybody's forehead right here. Ping, 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 ping. The people are just dropping like crazy, dropping like flies as this thing's just running through, and it's shooting on the gallop. You know? And incredible how powerful these things could become. So quick, too. And okay, we mean them for our enemies, and we put them out there ready to use them on the battlefield. But what if the things turn on us? I think that this is dangerous technology right here that they're playing with. It says, I think robots have the potential to fundamentally change the character of warfare. And I think whoever gets there first will have a unique advantage on the modern battlefield. My ambition by 2028 is to begin fielding autonomous and certainly semi-autonomous vehicles that can fight on the battlefield. Fighting sustains us, providing those things we need, and we'll continue to evolve from there. And here it shows these things. Some of them are tank size, and they're going to be able to just completely autonomously, meaning no control by any people. They're just going to, they're weapons. They're weapons for mass destruction. And we're going to create them. They might, instead of rolling on our enemies, might roll back on us and decide to just wipe out humanity. They might decide themselves that humanity is the enemy. Anyway, I don't think this is a good idea. Listen, thank you guys for listening to this show, and we'll catch you in the next show. Bye-bye.